order that they show up in the book. And we'll break it into sections A, B, and C, surprise, surprise. And you'll see it'll all fall into place. And we'll also cover some examples. We'll have some pictures that I have kind of ready and some videos on YouTube on a playlist I put together so we can kind of put it into context. But let's just kind of launch into it by showing a video of how painful a collision can be and how avoidable. We know the rules, and primarily it keeps everybody safe. So you can go around the marks, and there's an arbitrary right-of-way boat and a keep clear boat, and everybody's safer, and it's more orderly. It's just an orderly way to get boats around the race course. And if you know them, you can feel really confident, maybe even use them at times tactically. But for the most part, you use them as a shield to keep you out of trouble. And most of the time, big problems are avoidable. And tactically speaking, getting snarled up with another boat is very slow. So in a nutshell, the rules are really nice to know because you'll have a lot of confidence running around the race course, and you get to use them tactically here and again. But here's what can happen when you're approaching a leeward mark. The first two boats are going to get around this mark just fine. The third boat is the boat you want to keep your eye on. He is not owed mark room. He's not overlapped with anybody.
He is not taking the spinnaker down.
And he should be getting it down because he's not owed mark room. And the last thing he wants is to be inside overlapped without mark room being owed to him. And we'll cover this tonight.
What kind of boats are they?
Etchells.
Etchells?
They're heavy and they carry a lot of momentum. And here we go.
Holy crap.
Wait a minute. You gotta run that again. That did not sound good.
That was rough.
Too good either.
Yeah.
But he got second place.
That's a lot of fiberglass repair. Wow.
Oh
Just keep. I mean, who can honestly say this hasn't happened to them, where you're behind a couple of boats, you're not owed mark room, and you're just kind of rolling in there with a lot of speed. He's probably thinking, I'll keep my spinnaker up as long as I can to keep going fast, when in fact he should be getting that thing down, build some space, because he's going to catch them really quickly when they obviously turn to go around the mark. Well, let's watch it again just to internalize the pain. We're lucky no one's hurt. I'm assuming no one got hurt here.
Somebody's yelling.
The boat in the foreground knows the other boat's inside overlap. They must get
Yeah, those boats have that Roman Persian kind of prow that jams into. Just speeds up.
Yeah.
You forgot to duck him.
I guess the steering starboard just totally eluded him.
When all else fails, just T-back.
That's
Well, there's some very, very colorful language going on.
It's a cool looking boat. Looks fast.
It's like a miniature 12-meter.
They're very, you can see what I view. It looks like I sit around viewing bikini-clad girls on cruise. But if you look at sailing videos, these videos pop up.
Capsized his boat because he was watching her too.
Yeah. This is what I do. I wear this shirt all week long with my dog at my side. So anyway, so that's just a little drama. So let's launch right into it. In the first hour, we're going to cover Section A. This is the racing rules of sailing, and it's kind of intimidating. And you can read through here into all the, I mean, you're just like, oh my goodness, there's no point. Why bother buying this book and reading it? But until you realize the entire section that is really relevant is right here. That's it. I put red. That's it.
What
That's the
pages
entire.
are those?
It's part 2, section A, B, and C. And the notes I made tell you that. So racing rules of sailing, section A, section B, section C of I didn't write this, part 2, when boats meet. I didn't write that on my notes, but you can write part 2, when boats meet. On every single email I send, at the bottom where there are all those links, hey Matt, you You know what I'm talking about? All those links, and you know, one of them is RRS, Racing Rules of Sailing. All those links go to somewhere, and the Racing Rules of Sailing take you to a PDF online that is this book online. And so there it is, there it is. And I was going to print them all out, but I thought, yeah, I've done that before, and I'm not sure it helped. So, well, but this is a synopsis of it, the notes I took here. I just forgot to write part 2, when boats meet. So, section A. On one page of the Racing Rules of Sailing, you'll have section A, rules 10, 11, 12, and 13. And that's why I wrote them in there, yeah. 10, 11, 12, 13. What's 1 through 9? Who cares? Don't worry about it. Don't use steroids. If someone's in need, help them. Be a good sportsman. That sort of stuff. Sportsmanship-oriented stuff. Part 2 is all about when boats meet. And so that first section there, section A, is basic right-of-way. It's the stuff we care about when boats are port starboard, this sort of thing. In fact, it's 4 basic rules, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And we're going to cover 10 through 18 tonight. 19 and 20 are obstruction-oriented, but 10 through 18, if you think about it, it's 8 rules. 18's a whopper, admittedly. But 10, 11, 12, and 13 are port keeps clear of starboard, windward keeps clear of leeward, boat clear stern keeps clear of a boat clear ahead, in other words, overtaking, has to keep clear of the boat clear ahead. And a boat tacking has to keep clear of a boat not tacking, that's it. Okay, well, we're done. You know that, but that's really how short it is. So we'll just walk right through it really quickly. Everybody knows, and you might notice also the language in the racing rules when you click on the link and go to it, it addresses the keep clear boat. So we'll use that language so that we're consistent. People over the years will learn different things. The rules are rewritten, you go to seminars and people will use different language. They'll say, I have rights, and it's ambiguous. Or they'll say stand on vessel, that's an old term. They'll say keep clear, well that's still, so there's right away and there's keep clear. And then the rules 10 through 13 address the keep clear boat. The other guy is the right away boat. And we'll get to that guy in a second. But the keep clear boat is the port tacker in rule 10. This is the wind coming from above. We're on a helicopter looking down. Does everybody know that this boat is on a port tack as the wind's coming over the port side? This boat is on a starboard tack, the wind's coming over the starboard side. So port has to keep clear of the right-of-way boat, the starboard tacker. And keep clear means that the right-of-way boat does not have to change course to avoid collision. And by the way, when you click on the link and go to the Racing Rules of Sailing, the definitions, which are extremely important. Any rule has an italicized word, has definitions. And the definitions are now in the very front of the book where they belong. The definitions in the very front, right before the rules. They used to be in the back, and that's not where they belong. So every 4 years they get updated. So those definitions of keep clear, there are many other definitions that we'll go over. And you'll find if you know the definitions of about 8 or 10 terms, it'll really help you understand the racing rules. The definitions are as important as the rules. So port keeps clear of starboard. And so this boat would have to tack, perhaps, or be fast enough to cross, or go down and duck. And that's the bottom line. If this guy has to alter course to avoid collision, then the port tacker has fouled. So if you're going to make it really close and this person is a little skittish and they have to alter course to avoid you, you're in trouble. You know, good luck. That's not going to go over very well. The procedure or the rule, I don't know what number it is, to protest is to say the word protest. All the other language and invectives don't really matter. You have to say the word protest. And if you do, good luck, because that's not going to go over very well. So you got to be really careful. Pre-start, I'll give you a couple of examples. A race committee boat on the starting line.
There's lots of message here.
This is a really common situation. I kind of go over this stuff all the time just to see so you can get some patterns. But on a starting line, it's kind of customary to go in an oval pattern like this. When you're on the line, it's very congested, and the starboard tacker has right of way. Port tackers have to keep clear. And so it's common to be down here. Why? Because there's more room. You can go way down here if you really wanted to, but essentially, starboard tackers are going to be going head to wind to find the wind, to see which tack is, they're going to be figuring out what they want to do. But the starboard tackers, this is very congested and they have right of way. The port tackers really do need to keep clear. You really don't want to be threading the needle as a port tacker. You just want to get out of the way of starboard tackers. Keep in mind, you have a shroud right there holding up the mast, and this boom can hit, and the boats can spin, and all kinds of things can happen. So you really don't want to be cute with this. You really want to keep clear, and you don't want to spend a lot of brain cells avoiding boats. Just stay very clear of the starboard tackers, and then you can focus on other things. So this past couple weeks, you've seen some social sales with some port tack starters on the line, and at the gun, port tackers better darn well be clear. If it's congested, boy, it's not going to work out well for the port tacker. So going upwind, everybody kind of recognizes that. Pre-start, you're usually on some kind of beam reach, some kind of reach. We kind of understand that as well. Going downwind, sometimes it's a little less obvious who's on what tack, especially when you're on a run, and that's why I'm going to go over this next little subtlety. Okay, it's real quick before we go into both boats. The wind comes over the right side, you're on or starboard side, you're starboard tack. Wind comes over the left side or port side, you're on a port tack. If the wind comes over your stern, it's not coming over either side. But if you look at the definition section of what tack you're on, you'll notice it says the bit I just said about the wind coming over whichever side, unless you're on a run or sailing by the lee, which means you're like this, and then it's defined by where your mainsail lies. So if you're over here, just kind of think to yourself, if I had it up, what would I be on? I'm on a port tack. Okay, I'm on a port tack. So that's kind of how that works. If you're on a run or by the lee, it's where your mainsail lies. So if you had to hold it up there, force it up there, that's probably not where it lies. Anyway, so now we know this guy's on a port tack, this guy's on a starboard tack.
How was he on a starboard tack?
Yeah, it looks like.
Sorry.
Sorry.
That was a trick question.
Thank you.
Sharp, nice.
Can I leave now?
So, really important. I see a lot of boats kind of just wandering. They get closer and closer and closer and closer. It's really important to know if you're on a port tack, you should have that vulnerable feeling, like, oh, I gotta keep clear of people. You get to the next rule, it'll add to the paranoia. When you're on port, you should be kind of paranoid. When you're on starboard, that doesn't mean you stop looking and caring and worrying. It just means that you're the right way boat. And port tackers really do need to keep clear. If the boats get so close like that, and this guy's the port tacker, then he's going to have trouble turning to get away because the rudder's in the rear end of the boat and there's no wiggle room. And so all of a sudden, this has happened, and boy, that's a tough one to get out of. So just know if you're a port tacker to not get close to starboard tackers without being aware of it. It sounds silly, but it happens all the time. I watch it weekly. So anyway, enough about that. Port starboard. The next rule, windward leeward. So the name of the actual rule, and I'm going to hand this up just so, Sean, I'll put you on the burden of... the name of the rule, port starboard, we call it port starboard, it's actually called opposite tacks. The next rule, 11, is same tack overlapped. And we refer to it as windward leeward. But if you're on the same tack, and you're overlapped, overlap means that one boat's, these lines drawn perpendicular to the transom basically, or to the bow. Once they overlap, they're overlapped. If you're on the same tack and overlap, then this boat is the windward boat, and we'll talk about that definition in a second. The windward boat has to keep clear of the leeward boat. Does everybody recognize that this made this soft? Every boat has a windward side and a leeward side, or leeward side, it's a matter of pronunciation. The windward side is the side the wind's coming over, the other side is the leeward or leeward side. When you have two boats, each boat has a windward and a leeward side. So now that we know that, which one is the windward boat? The the boat that's on the other boat's windward side is the windward boat. The boat that's on the other boat's leeward side is the leeward boat. So, in plain English, you might say it's the one that's below you, you know, and sometimes people will say, oh, the boat that's downwind is the leeward boat. Not always. So it's important to know that the leeward boat is the boat that's on the other boat's leeward side. So if you're same tack and you're overlapped, if you're not overlapped, this ain't the rule we're talking about. But if you're overlapped, this is the rule we're talking about, and the windward boat has to keep clear of the leeward boat. That's rule 11. And if you're ever sort of in the memorize the rules mode, you kind of, this looks like an 11 on its side, if you kind of think of that way. Anyway, so, okay. So this boat has to keep clear of the leeward boat. So port keeps clear of starboard, windward keeps clear of leeward. This is kind of an obvious one. On the starting line, the race committee boat, and the pin out here. Port starboard we talked about. Port has to keep clear of starboard, and for goodness sakes, don't play games with it, because things can happen. Your boom can hit someone in the head. The boom can hit the shroud, and rigs can come down, and that can be pretty darn dangerous. So if you're port tacker, you know, scoop down here, and when you tack, and starboard tack down the line, and then maybe jibe this way. If it's really windy, you can always do a little chicken jibe and come down this way and make a racetrack out of it. That's real customary, and it'll keep you out of trouble. When you're on port tack, the last thing you need to be doing is worry about hitting boats. So there's windward, leeward. When you're approaching the starting line, for example, the windward boat has to keep clear. So if the leeward boat comes up, this boat has to keep clear. Again, the racing rules always address the keep clear boat. So the leeward boat has to keep clear. So the leeward boat's coming up. Doesn't have to, but the leeward boat would be wise to say, up, up, up. I'm coming up, Joel. Come on up, Joel. Come on, Joel, get up. Because if this guy doesn't know you're there, and he fouls you, and you're stuck together while everybody takes off, you're just bumming out. So it's really smart to hail, and you don't have to be mean. Sometimes you have to yell, and that sounds mean, but in fact, if you say things that make sense, you can save both of you a lot of trouble. If I'm this guy and I'm falling asleep, and this guy hails me, and I go, oh, I didn't even know he was there. I didn't know he was here. It might be the first time I realize, oh my goodness, this leeward boat's coming up here. Let me get up here so I can build some space. My point is, hail, say something. And if you're not sure, say anything. And later on you can discuss it over a beer or something at Galway. But leeward boat has right of way over windward boat. This is a very common situation. And on the lay line, which is an imaginary line where a boat is close hauled, the lay line for the committee boat, for example, it's very common to have someone tack right on it, and then this windward boat here is windward of the leeward boat and has to keep clear. And guess what? This guy wants to start. He wants to go to the line here, but he can't, because otherwise he would be coming down on a leeward boat. And Rule 11, same tack overlap, says that the windward boat has to keep clear of the leeward boat. And so this is referred to as barging. It's a very common situation at the starting line. And the blue boat is he wants to go across that starting line so bad, but he can't. He can't. So just remember, this is a real common thing. Newer sailors often populate this dangerous area in here and think they're going to swoop in at the last second and start. And that's whenever you're above this lay line, starboard lay line for the race committee boat, you're in a real dangerous spot. Just know that. That's the most common time. Another windward leeward situation besides the starting line might be when you're coming downwind. When you're coming downwind, a lot of times people, you know, you got a lot going on, and you'll forget what tack you're on, and who's windward, who's leeward. You know what tack you're on, and know if you're windward or leeward of somebody. So if you're this guy and you're on starboard tack, and you see someone catching you, which is common when you're on the downwind because he's in your air, then all of a sudden he's overlapped. These boats are same tack and they're overlapped. Boom, Rule 11. So This boat is the leeward boat. A lot of people think the leeward boat is the downwind boat. Boat's the one that's more downwind, it's on the lower rung of the ladder. This is the windward boat, windward side, leeward side, windward side, leeward side of each boat. The boat that's on the other boat's leeward side is the leeward boat. So
I'm
this
not
is,
seeing that.
okay, yeah.
So if the boat, if the, is that?
But did Nat say that or Jim? Okay.
But if the blue was on the other side of the boat, the red would be leeward at that point.
Correct, if this was like that, this would be the windward side, leeward, windward, leeward. This would be the leeward boat, this would be the windward boat. And it actually is a little more upwind. But in this case,
Yeah, I always thought.
oh boy, we have Matt steps rotting. We'll have to get some glass on there.
Sean?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Wrong one, that one.
What now?
I was telling Sean to get on it.
Oh, yeah.
On it.
Yeah, oh, a little plug.
All right, so
Sean.
I don't quite see
Little
why that's
plug, I'll get to it.
the windward.
Sean's been gutting floors. We've all done some fiberglass floor work. Who has done some of that? It's dirty work. It's not complicated. It has to be done correctly. Sean's replaced the floor in Winded at one of our newer boats, and it looks like a really new boat, and it really is in great shape. And the next boat has a really soft floor. The entire floor has been redone.
Lamb
in
chop.
Lamb Chop.
Yeah.
Our beloved Lamb Chop, and that floor is as good as it's ever been, probably out of the factory. And now the foredeck is like a trampoline, it's being ripped apart, and we'll probably lay that up tomorrow, I bet you. By we, I mean he. So, quick round of applause for Sean, who's really done an amazing job. And you're gonna notice some cosmetic differences, and believe me, it's not just cosmetic. There's some stuff under the hood that's been going on with these boats. So this is the year where we make the boats pretty too.
Leaded weights.
Yeah. Okay, so not seeing that, so would you agree that these boats are heading down to a leeward mark, let's say? And this boat caught this boat. Do you see that? That's the windward boat to this leeward boat?
Sure.
Yes.
Does that seem kind of odd?
Yes.
Especially if you're on a reach and bam, you're overlapped.
Yeah, it's when they're on an angle, you see it clearly. When it's
very easy to see,
when it's
isn't it?
90%, it's,
When you're on a run, it gets kind of like,
yeah.
when I was a kid, boats that were, the windward side of the boat I said laser, so the windward side of the boat was very clean. There's nothing there, there's just clean, nothing. The other side of the boat had stuff on it, the boom, the main sheet. It was just a busy side, and I used to think it's busy and complicated. This is my mind.
Sewer,
Like
lower.
a sewer, like a sewer. And so I always thought the windward is that clean side that the wind's coming over, and that's the sewer, the leeward. Because the word leeward seemed weird to me. It's just a made-up word I didn't know in 9th grade. So I thought, well, sewer, leeward, And so it might help you to know that the boat that's the side of the boat that had all the stuff on it is the leeward side. The leeward side. This is the windward. This is the windward.
That's pretty clear.
So if somebody's on your sewer side, they're to leeward of you. Yeah, so this is the leeward boat. That's kind of easy for people to see, especially if you get on the reach, which is really common. Boats tend to get up on reaches because they're trying to keep their air clear. This blue boat is getting his air covered. The red is getting the air of the blue boat. So this guy will often head up, and he'll head up to try to get his air to reel him in. And so you'll see this train of boats that go up on a reach, and then boat number 6, 7, and 8 goes straight for the leeward mark, and that's a sailboat race. So this is easy to see. It's those runs that are complicated. As soon as this boat overlaps this way or this way, same tack overlap applies. So pop quiz, Jim. The red boat is windward or leeward?
Leeward.
Nice. Everybody agree? Any confusion? All right. Red boat is Sean. Windward or leeward?
50-50 chance.
Yeah, that's true. It is leeward, because this is the windward side, windward side, sewer side. So this guy is on this guy's sewer side, so he's the leeward, the sewer thing.
So we better take him up.
Yeah.
You could take him up, that's a tactical conversation, but yeah, this guy's the right-of-way boat, this is the keep clear boat. Notice the language, keep clear boat, right-of-way boat, ROW, right-of-way. So the stand on, privileged vessel, all that's like old guy gibberish for something. But right away, keep clear. That's the language in the racing rules. That's the language that people are expecting to hear when you're in a protest room.
And if you were to flip the blue boat sail to the other side, then you'd go straight to a port tax scenario.
Oh, come on, man, that was gonna be my next trick question.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
good.
um,
Correct, and then next, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And why? Because they're on opposite tacks, which is
Opposite
the
tax.
name of Rule
So we're not
10.
worried about when we're
It
leeward.
ain't port starboard, it's called opposite tacks.
Opposite tax.
Yeah, yeah. So anytime there's opposite tacks, you don't have a windward leeward situation.
Right.
By definition, that's not.
Because opposite tax overrides windward leeward. We don't even pay attention to windward
It's not
leeward
that it
until you
doesn't,
have the
it
same
doesn't
tax.
matter, it's not that it overrides it, it just isn't windward leeward, because the name of the rule, of Rule 11 is opposite tacks overlapped.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, so it's not that one is more important or hierarchy.
Well, I would say it is. I mean, port starboard is the number one thing you look at. And then once that's established, then you consider leeward, windward, correct?
True. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give you that. Definitely comes first, and I would
We could
agree
talk
with that.
on for a half hour about this, so you.
No, but it's true. But what's important to know is it's not so much that it's a more important rule, though I kind of agree with you. It's that it's just simply doesn't apply. So this isn't same tack overlap, so it must be the opposite tacks.
And I see what you're saying. You're
Yeah.
right. You don't even have the condition
The,
until
the
you're on
name of the
same
rule
tack.
matters a lot.
Okay.
So anyway,
Right.
we call it windward leeward, but it's in fact same tack overlapped.
Gotcha.
So anyway, kind of confusing, super easy to get jumbled up in your head. Just know if you're on a port or starboard tack, and if you're on the same tack, the boat that's on the other boat's leeward side is the leeward boat. And this guy needs to keep clear. And this guy would be wise to tell him if he doesn't want to get into an entanglement. Snarled up boats and clusters move slowly. So I could be right all day long and be on my high horse and self-righteous and be like, I know the rules, and we're all sitting there while 12 boats go by. So clusters are slow. So even if you didn't know the rules at all and you just avoided a giant cluster, you're probably gonna do pretty well. So cluster avoidance is a very fancy tactic for going fast. Anyway,
Good
so
one
that's,
for life itself.
so port starboard, windward leeward, just code word, but we know that's opposite tacks overlapped. This one is what I would call overtaking, although the word overtaking is not in the rule at all. And it's called same tack not overlapped. So that's right here. Same tack not overlapped. There's no way they can hit, you know? So which boat there has to keep clear? Does anybody know?
The rear boat.
Yeah, the
The
boat that's clear stern.
overstanding boat.
The language says something like the boat clear astern has to keep clear of the boat clear ahead. Fancy way of saying the overtaking boat has to keep, you don't rear end people. Yeah, that's kind of like in cars too. You rear end somebody, usually the one kind of at fault, I think.
Now, it'd be smart for the blue boat to pick his side so that he is on the leeward side in this case, correct?
It could be true if he desires,
Unless he's with going to the mark within 3 boat lengths and he gets inside overlap.
that's a tactical conversation, next seminar, sir.
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping.
But you're right, in the beginning, the first half of the downwind leg, it might be advantageous to go higher, to go faster. Maybe there's pressure over here. Maybe the waves are sort of oriented that way.
And he's gaining leeward.
Maybe there's a cluster of boats right here, and you just kind of want to go off on a reach and then get on a run, and then maybe drive back or something. But you're right, sometime in the latter half, or maybe the bottom third of the second of the downwind leg, is usually customary to kind of make your way in if you drive over to get that inside overlap going on. But that's a tactical conversation, but you're right. So when they're not overlapped, same tack, what we kind of sort of call the overtaking rule is just don't rear end people. So the clear stern boat has to keep clear. If you're on a starting line, back to the starting line right here, and this guy's sort of, 20 seconds and he's sort of just minding his own business, limping along, because you don't want to get stopped in a Flying Scot or most boats. You want to sort of kind of keep the boat kind of moving. And this guy's kind of just moving along, and this dude is coming up behind him. What's the rule here? We've only covered 3. So
Keep clear.
Rule 12.
they're same, rule 12. They're same tack, they're not overlapped, so it's rule 12. As soon as they become overlapped, there's another rule we'll get to that's in play, but for the most part, it's a windward-leeward situation. So this boat has to keep clear of this boat. The rules kind of talk about this guy does not have to anticipate the fact that this guy's moving, say he's going 1 knot, he's going 5 knots. He doesn't have to start moving up in advance. Only when they become overlapped does this guy have to respond. So for example, if this guy's overlapped and he comes within a millimeter of this boat, this guy doesn't have to worry, because he can't even, we'll get to this in a second, but this guy doesn't have to read this guy's mind, is what it says. We'll get to it.
So the question is, where does, he's overlapped, where does that overlap actually take? When his nose goes over his transom? All of a
Yes.
sudden, he's gotten real close to him, his nose goes over the transom, he's yelling,
I'm getting ahead of myself, but
Yeah,
just
we'll
remember, just remember when you when you're the leeward boat and you're the right-of-way boat, this is section B, it's the second hour. I kind of brought this up, so it's my fault. But just remember, when you're the right-of-way boat, if you establish yourself right there, and this guy can't get out of your way,
oh
don't be
yeah,
surprised if he doesn't.
like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Okay, you
In
shot
fact,
yourself in the
you owe him a
foot.
little
Yeah.
time and space to get out of there.
Yeah,
Room to keep clear.
gotcha.
So, on the leeward boat, now, I was this, but now I'm overlapped, same tack overlapped, so I'm to leeward of the red boat, so as the blue boat, I'm the right-of-way boat, and I might want to take this guy higher, and, anyway, so now I'm the right-of-way boat.
So you should hail him.
Yeah, if you want him to come up, yeah, sure. Yeah. And so, that's a classic case, and, okay, so that's a starting line situation, so this guy's to keep clear, then all of a sudden he's the right-of-way boat. Bam. And we'll put there's gonna be more coming on here, stacked on top of all this stuff. And then the final rule of the section A of part 2 is tacking. Is that the name of the rule is called, tacking?
Wild tack.
While tacking. So it's pretty common sensey. When a boat is back to the definitions, what is the definition of tacking?
The boat goes past head to wind.
There it is. So this is close haul. This is head to wind. Whatever that heading is. When you're heading up and your jib and main are luffing, you're just heading up. You're still on a port tack. The second you go past head to wind, you are tacking.
Post the vessel line.
So the whole time you're tacking, in here, for example, so you're just heading up, you're still on port tack, you go down, you're still on port tack. You go across this little line in your mind, you're now tacking. And from here to here, you're in the process of tacking, so that's important to understand the definition of tacking. So if you come across head to wind and you just camp out right here for 10 minutes, you're still tacking. The reason this is important is Rule 13, while tacking, says a boat tacking has to keep clear of a boat not tacking. And so when you're tacking, you're vulnerable. It's like a crab, molting a shell. So, so if two boats are cruising along, forget the starting line, and this boat is in the process of tacking, So you'd have to finish the tack on a close haul, establish yourself on a close haul course. In this case, you're tacking onto starboard, and now you're opposite tacks from port starboard.
Now
The
rule
red boat is
14.
starboard.
Now rule 14.